I think kind of the obvious overarching, to cue up what we talked about earlier, dark cloud over Memphis. Is this real or counterfeit, Drew? That Ja Morant has lost that killer edge that he used to have.
One of our coworkers became famous one time for saying that he doesn't have that look in his eye, that killer look in his eye. And I don't know that I want to go that far, because in the last game that we saw him, he did seem to have that streak in him, that mean streak. However, I know Kenny posed the question on Sane's show yesterday. It's like, does he need the adversity? Does he need to be a heel, to be fighting against someone to unlock that 12? I think everybody does this, but Ja Morant and 12 are two different people. It's kind of like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Like,
Absolutely.
12 is Mr. Hyde. He's the crazy one. He's the one that you want on your team when it matters the most. And we just hadn't seen much of 12 lately. Yeah. And I don't necessarily think it's because he's lost it. I don't think you lose that. But I do think that he thrives in being an underdog, to be not believed in. And I also think that it's more attributed to probably being, not trusting his body, not feeling like he's getting the calls. And it's just kind of a regular season that is only about getting to the postseason, I think ultimately the goal here is to get to the postseason. I think that's a flawed hope. I think that you have to learn to win, and you do that in the regular season in crunch time situations against good teams. And so I think it's more preservation, and it's more injury management and trying not to break a leg than it is he's lost that fire in his eyes.
I'm going to agree. I'm going to say it's counterfeit. I won't go as far to say he's lost that fire. I get the points behind like preventing injury and not being that high-flying, dynamic Ja Morant that we saw 2-3 years ago when he was an all-star himself. My issue is what we've seen a lot more of this year with Ja is the complaining Ja, the arms in the air, the jumping in the air, spinning upset with not getting calls,
right,
and not so much the demon time Ja. 2-3 years ago when Ja was not getting these same calls, he would put his head down and attack harder and force you to make the calls. He pulled a Marshawn Lynch and ran through a mouth. You know what I'm saying? And like, that's what he would do to go get those calls. Now what we're seeing
and again.
And now what we're seeing is Ja spends a lot more time gesticulating, there's your big word for the day, towards the referees about not getting calls and frustrated and flailing. And so I miss the old demon time Ja, 12 as you called him. That's who we call, right? You call 12, not Ja Morant. We're seeing a lot more Ja Morant this year. Again, I think the point about injury, preservation is valid. I mean, the guy's got to, I can't imagine being a high-level athlete like that and have your body failing like it has been for him. That's a huge, and he's been open about his mental health struggles in the past, so I know that's probably in his mind. But what I need to see Ja be able to take over some games now to get to the playoffs. Like, Wayno's right. Like Jimmy Butler and a handful of players are those guys that can coast to the playoffs. Ja Morant's not one of them. Ja Morant, to me, is a guy that needs reps. He's a rhythm running back that needs reps and get his head down and do what he needs to do. I think he's just in a slump. I do think he's going to snap out of it. I think he's going to come back with a new fire. Hopefully he sees this show and we get called out like DG did in the post-game interview. But Ja, we want demon time Ja back, man. It's there. We've seen it in glimpses this year, but I want to see him put his head down and go to work.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I don't think he's lost it. I think he's frustrated. He's in a rut, and he's an emotional guy, and things have not been going his way. And so I hope that over this 6-day break, they don't play another game till a week from today. And so I'm hoping over the 6-7 day break that he can recharge, get with family, and get with the folks that will speak some truth to him. And sometimes that truth is hard to hear, but he needs to hear it.